We're beginning chapter 2, and every math course it seems that I ever have involves lines and graphing at some point. And so we're going to take a look at some basics of lines. I'm sure you've seen this before. We'll move quickly through it and get to some more advanced language, but let's get started. So just a quick refresher. Do you remember the Cartesian plane? Um, Descartes actually is what I've told has thought of the idea that we make an x and y axis and we can grid um, this whole blocked area by just giving it x and y coordinates. So by using the grid where we have an x-axis going across here and a y-axis going vertically, we can map anything else. If you ever played Battleship, you've used the Cartesian plane. So if I had the point 3, -2, the x comes first, so I find its location on the x-axis, and then the y comes second, and we mark that point. Now that creates 4 quadrants, so they go counterclockwise, which isn't super intuitive. It goes the other way around, first, second, third, fourth. Now if you are, that there are the two axes, there's the x-axis and the y-axis. So if you're on an axis, you're not actually in a quadrant, you're on the axis itself. Okay, so here they're just doing what I was just saying, 3, -1. So they'd find the x first, you go down to the y. Okay, so we're just plotting some points here. So -2 in the x, 4 in the y would be up here. I've got 3 in the x, 3 in the y. I've got 0 in the x, -3 in the y. Okay, now we're going to talk slope-intercept form in just a bit here, but they want us to plot this, graph this equation for a line by plotting some points. Let's see how they did. Now they did a whole bunch. But so the idea is this: there is a relationship here between the x and the y. And if you input something in for x, you can pick anything you want. You can crunch it. This makes a machine that crunches it and spits out the y that you're looking for. So if I put in -5, crunch that down, so I'm replacing x with -5, crunch that down, what comes out is the value of y. What comes out is 7. So these are partners. They have this special relationship. You put in -5, his partner is 7. And there's various other ones here. You put in -1, what comes out is 3. Those are partners. Put in 1, what comes out is 1. So the line has this special relationship with these partners. And if you graph the individual dots, oh, they didn't do it. Okay, let's graph it. Okay, so I'm graphing this first one, -5, 7, right about there, -3, 5, right about there, and then 1, 1. My graph isn't very good, but. So this line tells the story of the relationship between all of these individual x's and y's, and they're unique to this particular line. Just select some choices. You can pick anything for x that you want. It will work for any number, and you'll find the particular y partner that he matches up with, and then you can plot them. Okay, so let me show you. Now I'm going to always pick, it takes 3 points to graph a line. So I'm always going to pick an easy one. I'm going to pick 0, because if I put 0 in for x, that's all going to disappear, and I would just be left with 2. Do you see that'll drop out? Now I'm going to pick a clever 2, because I know that the 2 for the x and the 1/2 from the slope, if you remember that, will cancel out. So by picking 2, it'll cancel with the 2 in the denominator of the 1/2. So I've got 1 plus 2, I get 3. So 2's partner is 3. Now again, you could pick anything you want. I'm going to pick -2 for another x because of that same canceling. They'll cancel, it'll leave a -1. Okay, so I've got my 3 points. Okay, there's the graph. Alright, now it's super important. We'll use this as we get into much more difficult material. It's always important to know what the x-intercept and the y-intercept means. The x-intercept is where it hits that x-axis. So here's the x-intercept. And in our case it occurred, do we know? I don't have that one. I'm going to find it. It occurs when the y is 0. So the x-intercept occurs when the y is 0, and the y-intercept occurs the other way around. So I'm going to solve for this one real quick. So I subbed a 0 in for y in order to find the x-intercept. When 0 is y, you can find it, and x is going to be -4. Now an intercept is a point, so I would not want it to say x equals -4. If you give this to me, I'd want you to give -4, 0. That's a point where the y is 0. Now the x-intercept, or I'm sorry, the y-intercept is vice versa. The y-intercept occurs when x is 0. Well, when x is 0, the y is 2, which we already had on our chart. So here's my x-intercept when the y is 0, and my y-intercept is when the x is 0. So they go vice versa. So if you were looking for them, you sub a 0 in for the y for this one. For the y-intercept, you plug a 0 in for x. Okay, now if you have the intercepts, usually when you graph a line, 3 points is customary, but if you use the 2 intercepts, that's good enough. So we're going to find the 2 intercepts. Now the x-intercept happens when y is 0, so I'm going to plug 0 in here. I get 4 equals -3x. Okay, so -4/3. So I just put 0 in for I want the x-intercept. It's when y is 0. So I plugged it in, solved for x. Now it's a point. It's the point -4/3, 0. Now let's go the other way around. I want the y-intercept. That occurs when x is 0. So I'm going to put in 0 for x. And I get y is -4. Remember, that's a point, 0, -4. Now, I can graph this with just these 2 points. So I'm graphing my y-intercept. It's at -4 on the y. My x-intercept is at 1 and just a little smidgen past that. Okay. Connect them, and we're good. Okay, try this on your own if you want to. It's probably pretty easy for you. Let's do this. Alright, so I'm going to find the 2 intercepts. So the x-intercept is when y is 0. So I've got 0 equals -3/4 x plus 3. Now, to get rid of -3/4, you really are dividing by both sides by -3/4, but the trick is that you wind up multiplying by the reciprocal. So I'm going to divide both sides. Well, you are dividing, but you flip that upside down, multiply it across. So these would cancel down to be 1. So this all just becomes x. Now the 3's would cancel here. The minuses are opposite, so I'm going to get 4. Okay, so that's the point 4, 0. Now, to find the y-intercept, it's when x is 0. So y is going to be -3/4, 0 plus 3. So that's all going to drop out. You're just going to get 3. Now, if you remember the slope-intercept formula, I'm assuming is in the next video. Do you remember this here is the y-intercept? That's that 3. So if you have this in the mx plus b form, you could have already known that that is the y-intercept. But just some simple math is going to confirm that. And again, we'll talk about that more probably in the next video. Okay, I've graphed my 2 intercepts, and 2 intercepts is good enough to graph the whole line. And there you go. All right, real simple introduction. You probably remember all of those things, but maybe you needed a quick refresher. So we'll continue with lines, and we'll quickly get to some more advanced language with this, if this is pretty easy for you.